is an evening of celebrating partnerships and collaboration and truly seeing the reason why you can go much further when you do it with others. We are looking to ensure that Africa grows by virtue of what Mandela said, that with education we can change the world.
My mom actually brought me here. She's called Janet Otika, and basically she wants to expose me to see what really women are made of and to also borrow a leaf from them.
We see time and time again companies that have embraced diversity and inclusion are performing much better than companies that don't. Whatever we can do to change the profile of women in the corporate world is the right thing to do.
Women Corporate Director is a global network. So obviously we go through things in Kenya where we can benefit other countries and they can benefit us.
I believe women are the ones who hold the economy of any country. So I'm here to learn, to be empowered, and maybe to be a role model to someone else.
WCD is basically Women Corporate Directors. It's the largest organization of women board members, directors, whose members are among the world's most powerful and influential businesswomen. The whole purpose of WCD is to provide a space, a venue, a place where women can sit together, caucus, and share, and just find the strength within ourselves to be able to move forward.
We need courage to bring about the change required, particularly when we go against long cherished traditions. I am so delighted that the number of men is increasing, because otherwise we just talk to ourselves and we are not going to bring about the change we need if we don't have the right people, male and female, in the right seats at the right time. We need everybody on the bus to actually make the change.
A lot of times people think we should have women directors, women leaders, because we need to make room for them, almost as if it's an affirmative action thing. And I don't subscribe to that. You're in here for a reason. You're the first ones at this level in this country. And so it's not just an achievement for you, it's a responsibility. You're the ones making it look possible for everyone behind you. And the higher you go, the more it looks credible and possible for the generations after you.
Most of the times that change is being driven, it's being driven by the minorities. Because from the outside, it's easier to spot homogeneity than for the people who are on the inside. And right there is where you have a divide. And so as we look at this idea of diversity, I think we must cross that divide of minds. There has to be a conscious effort to engage with those who are different from us, to understand what their concerns are and what their hesitance is, and to involve them in moving this needle of diversity.
My job is to moderate this session, and I would like to say the following: that diversity and inclusion play a critical role in boards and organizations. Today's topic, the power and impact of diversified boards. It's very interesting. And with us today, we have a team of panelists who will let us share with us their views. The business case for diversified boards. Do we still need to make this case really in this modern time, in this 20th century?
Boards that actually have at least 30% women by far outperform their comparison companies. So this is an impact to the bottom line. So the business case is there, but I think we need to continue to make the business case, and this is exactly what we were talking about.
I think there's a dangerous thing to assume that there is a causal link between the two. So I think that the business case absolutely has to be made.
The statistics definitely show that we're doing not well. If you look at whether it's a listed entity or public-private companies, we haven't done much. And we couldn't be successful by looking at only one aspect. Let's say more men in boards and fewer women in boards. And even that, I think, in my view, is to push more for inclusion. Because it's also to get the voice and ideas and messages delivered in those boards. They're not just sitting in the boards themselves.
I think we need to be clear what diversity is. And gender is one of the biggest attributes towards diversity. But there are other attributes: experience, personal attributes, there's gender, there's age, there's geography, there's independence. So to me, when I talk about diversity, I'm not just talking about gender. And then I would challenge some of the things that have been said, because I think a lot of us talk, but we don't have enough data.
I feel it's a lot more difficult for women to be invited onto boards. I don't know why. I genuinely don't understand it.
Are women allowed to fail like men?
I think we do need to come to the point where women are allowed to fail and are not vilified for doing it. We do need to come to the point where it's okay to fail forward, and we need to teach women and men how to do that.
Sherry Blair was in town last week with us. And you know, Sherry made a very good point, which is that we're not really going to be making any progress until we get to the point where average women can get to leadership. Because you know, average men actually absolutely do make it to leaders. And no, but it's true, and there's some very good examples on the platform here tonight.
So why did Trump win? And Hillary was so much better. No, you answer that.
You need to be careful with a statement like that, because Trump didn't win because people voted against Hillary. Trump won for actually much more complex reasons. You know, I'm proud that in our country we have we've done a double, right? So we have cracked that glass ceiling with Queen Victoria, with Queen Elizabeth, with Margaret Thatcher, that doesn't necessarily actually make them good leaders, incidentally.
Most women, though they could be in the board or direct a board, forego that opportunity for things they have deeper in their heart that seem more important to them. And this is the question where I always ask, why do you complain? You chose.
How many here have chosen, and maybe this is not a representative sample, but how many here have chosen a lesser career path because you felt you had family commitment, so you needed to choose a lesser path? Because I think that's what's insinuated. I really believe that it's about choice, that we will have arrived when each woman can make the choice that is right for her.
Why is inclusion so important now? Why?
You're going to bring in everyone in the room to address the challenges that will determine in the business, whether it's a large or a small entity. So one type of person cannot. If you're all looking the same and you're going to have the same perspectives, it's going to be very difficult to address the challenges that you will face. And that's where you must get other different perspectives, no matter how difficult they are. Take them on board. That for me will be the value I would say for diversity.
Why must women choose? How can we get to the point where we don't have to choose between having a career and getting to the board, or getting married and having children and taking time out?
I'm a successful CEO. I'm a very unsuccessful husband. I'm serious. Because I have gone through 2 divorces. So it's not funny, right? It isn't funny. There is a price to be paid. And actually, it's not a gender-related issue. You know, you have to hit the balance, and that's not easy. And I can tell you, most CEOs, many CEOs I know, whether they're male or female, it's a tough choice. But actually, you know, Kenya is doing pretty well. I know it's easy to slag it off, but in Kenya, 19.8% of boards have good women representation, which is above the global average. It's also above the United States average, and definitely above the African average. So again, you know, let's not be too hard. It's only going to be okay, and laws don't change behaviors, incidentally. Because whether you got a 2/3 rule or not, I mean, that's not the point. You have to change cultures, and you have to change behaviors, and you have to not work with the people in this room. The people you have to work with is the 9-year-old boy. You have to work with my 6-year-old son to change that. Changing Joshua and me and Linus, it's not going to really make it, because we're here because we believe in it anyway. I mean, that's not the point.
We're not performing very well. What we've been told by Bob is we're way below that. We're more like 12%. And there aren't enough women in in the regulatory sector in Kenya. But it is improving. If you compared it to 5-10 years ago, it's much better.
For organizations like ourselves, our board is 1/3, and our goal is to make 50%. So it's and whether it's a senior management level, at recruitment level, we are able to do 50% of our staff is men and women. The pay parity is the same. So I think it's that more organization needs to do an action to support the women to achieve that. Unless it is driven, I think we will never be able to make a move.
You have to know your numbers. Yes. You have to show your numbers, and you have to grow your numbers. So I am actually really almost anal about the details, and Maria will tell you, anal about the details. I want to know the grades of the women are coming in, the grades that they're getting promoted, and the rate at which they're exiting. And that way we will get to 50%, because I think that it's the right thing to do.
One thing that I like to emphasize is we need enlightened men, but we need enlightened chairs. And I would like to see a lot more women step up to the plate and actually become chairs. It is not good enough for anybody to come to a boardroom or C-suite or whatever it is, show up and not be present and not be heard. I think this is such a tragedy. I really want all of us, men and women alike, to step up to the plate and learn to listen and become great chairs, because you have so much influence as a chair. Let's not underestimate that.
The one light I think we have in terms of enlightened leadership happens to be Angela Merkel, in my view, who happens to be a woman who's taken a really grown-up approach to things like Brexit. And so if you want to look at gender, and if you want to look at and you know, when you say that there's no causal link, and I still believe there's no causal link, the reason why those companies are successful is because they exercise those elements of leadership, which is about empathy, which is about development, which is about transparency, because incidentally, most companies who have got strong women leadership are also much more transparent and don't have the fraud and corruption issues that companies that are predominantly male-led.
If you cannot show a causal connection, how did you get to the point where you had the additional empathy, where you did the listening, where you exhibit both the male and the female traits? Somehow something got in that pond of that organization to end up with that cocktail that actually was incredibly precious and caused those very nice returns on equity and returns on capital and so forth. So somehow we got there.
If women get to the C-suite, get to the board, and they behave like men, then you don't have a diverse workforce. Yeah. And so that's my point.
Bob, I challenge that there's no causal relationship, because especially in Africa, we know that from a corporate governance perspective, that women are the beacons of integrity. We enter into these corporate boards and then drive the transparency. We want people to actually go back to the community, develop the community. So there's actually the causal relationship of having more women in corporate boards.
There's a good chance for women to be able to get through this network, get a chance to link with mentors who are also here, and the chance for you to call up for those positions for the board, I think it is now. So go for it, take your best, push for it. I think we are all here to provide the support.
Yeah, and that's why WCD was formed.
Don't declare your tigerness. Just be who you are. And in the sense, give yourself lots of options. Life is mean. So if you only target one thing and you don't get it, you're very bitter.
Boards are looking for women for who they are. I will never want to be another person. So you have the best strength, and as women, push for the belief that you have. And for that, you'll actually go extremely far.
Make sure that you get your 6-year-old son to grow up to be like these enlightened men. I don't call them brave, I just call them enlightened, because you need to start with them at 6 years old and not wait until they become 4 to 5 years old like me. Why does everybody laugh when I say that?
Is he 45 indeed? Can you confirm? She's shaking her eyes. She's saying, no, he's not 45. Thank you, Hata.
That was real female behavior. We're always the ones who lie about our age. I feel so validated. Thank you. For whatever it's worth, women, ladies, we do need to help each other. I cannot stress that enough. We need to help each other, and we need to bring the men along. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, panel. Yeah, we've seen and we've been told that definitely there's need for us to have diversity inclusion. So inclusion together with diversity drives innovation and passion within organization, boards and community at large. And on that, I'd like to say thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I've enjoyed it.